Okay, so I'm going to do a deeper dive into my fretless banjo here. Just an overview of the whole thing. So first off, it is a reproduction. I wasn't super clear about that. It is not an original banjo from 200 years ago. Generally speaking, banjos before like the 1850s don't survive very well. Just too old. They weren't made well enough yet, and the ones that do survive are like ridiculously expensive. So banjos in that era, 1850s below, reproductions are very popular. Past that era, 1860s, 1870s, 1880s, yeah, the banjos are rare, but not so much as like guitars or other instruments. Banjos hold up much better than guitars over time. Less wood, far more repairable and upgradable. You can get like I could get it on Reverb right now. There's this pretty dope 1870s fretless banjo for like $1,100. So you can get an old collectible one. You just really can't get one that's this old. So that's why reproductions are so popular. Jerron Paxton and Rhiannon Giddens both play reproduction banjos from like the 1850s, 1840s, 1850s. I don't know exactly. I think they're Stitchter. One's a Stitchter banjo. I don't know exactly what they play. I'm not an expert on banjos of that era, really. But I just know more than the average person, obviously. But let's go into this banjo. So what would you call this? You could call it a lot of things. You could call it a tackhead banjo. You could call it a fretless banjo. You could call it a minstrel banjo. You could call it a grain measure banjo, probably. I usually just call it my fretless tackhead banjo. Minstrel sort of has a negative connotation sometimes, although it is clearly a minstrel style neck. That's what these are called right here, like these waves right here. But yeah, so let's dive into that. Tackhead, so basically the skin on modern banjos is held on with like hooks and shoes and stuff. It's a drumhead style. They're based on drums. But right before that, this is what all the cool banjos are made out of. They just stretch the skin. They get the skin wet. They stretch it over there, glue it on, and then tack it in. But the tacks go right through the wood, and then you put like wax or pitch or whatever on here to obviously so you don't cut yourself and to keep them from sliding out and everything. This, I don't know what this is made out of. Originally they were probably made, you had what was called grain measure banjos because they were made out of buckets, grain measure buckets. So they would cut, the top off that and you have a nice little circle and they make the banjo out of that. Banjo is a member of the lute family, an instrument classification like the guitar and the ukulele. Older banjos are known as what's called spiked lutes, which means the neck goes right through the body and comes out the other side. So yeah, you can see that this is all one piece, basically, just shoved through the neck, holes cut, and it's forced through there. And then they fashioned it with screws because this is a modern reproduction by a PhD student, so someone knows what they're doing, but not necessarily maybe an expert luthier. So it is a little rough in some places, but it gets the job done. This would have been very handy back in the day, especially since this style of banjo would have primarily been played probably by African American slaves in the South. So not having a lot of infrastructure and ways to keep things, this would have been perfect for setting the banjo in the corner against the wall without it getting ruined. It sits right there on the floor. So that was a really important part of this. And you also have this nice scoop, which is a naturally occurring part of it, but is now something that a lot of people put into modern banjos. None of mine have it, but you can like sand down this area because you get a sweeter sound. You get a more aggressive sound over here, and you get a sweeter sound right here. All right, let's keep going. So, tackhead, spiked lute. This is an animal skin. A lot of the modern ones are, some kind of plastic or whatever. Remo developed like their own type like 50 years ago, and now everyone uses that. But the natural animal ones probably sound a little bit better, but they are far more temperamental. Moisture, humidity changes will cause them to sag and stuff, and obviously there's the ethical implications there as well for anyone. That's important too. So this is just a really simple style. This is called the tailpiece, so the strings tie in there. This is just a really simple piece of wood with some holes drilled into it, and then it's held on with banjo string or fishing line or whatever right here, and that goes around this spike. Then we've got a little bridge right here. This actually isn't a great bridge for this banjo. This is like a temporary one I'm trying to decide what kind of bridge to put on there. This is a little low. I'd like it to be a little bit higher so I'm not constantly hitting the drum head, but it's fine for right now. I don't like the way the slits are kind of carved in there. And I'm probably going to put different strings on this. These are actually ukulele strings. Don't tell anyone. They are Worth Browns, but they work fine. Especially since they come in big, long things that you can cut yourself, so it works perfect for this longer scale instrument. So yeah, you got the head right here. The strings vibrate, go through the bridge down in the head, and that sort of resonates right here. Banjos are super loud. That's why they were so popular for so long, because they're louder than guitars. They're louder than other acoustic instruments. It's also why they lost favor, because once amplification came out, they were much harder to amplify than the mellow sounds of a guitar or something, so guitars won out in the end. Go out here, we get the neck, fretless neck, so obviously on regular banjos you have frets that tell you where the notes are. You have to know right here. We've got, these are called OGs. These are what you find on minstrel style banjos. They function as essentially fret markers. This is the 5th fret, this is the 7th fret, this is the 12th fret. So those are your markers. You don't really have any markers here. Some people put markers in or whatever. It's just personal preference. I don't like them, but who knows? I'm not that experienced. Maybe I'll change my mind. Let's go up. We've got this sort of minstrel style headstock, which is really popular in a lot of older reproductions of banjos. And then we've got the tuning pegs right here. You can see on the modern banjos, this is broken, but most tuning pegs come out this way. On older banjos, between, I think it's like before the 1850s or 60s, there was a switch. I don't know exactly when it was, but this tuning peg goes down this way. So it's a little inconvenient. That's probably why they ended up changing it. Most of them come out. And then there's more up here. And these are what's called friction pegs, as opposed to like these these are called planetary tuners, and then some have like guitar style tuners, either closed or open. These are called friction tuners, and they are a pain in the ass. So you basically have to turn it while keeping pressure going up, because if it loosens too much, the whole thing will unravel. You get better at it after time. I'm getting pretty good at it now, but it is a huge pain. It's a little out of time. Let's, I mean, you can see me tune it. It's a pain in the ass. There's the culprit. That's my banjo. I got a really good deal on it on Refurb. It was like $240. That's pretty good in my opinion. Because that's what like a fretless AC1 goes for new. The last guy who owned it couldn't get the hang of fretless, so it's kind of what you gotta hope for. Someone else will give up, and then you can snatch up their banjo. Oh yeah. If anyone has any questions or wants to hear anything, just let me know. Leave a comment or something, or subscribe to my channel if you want. It's pretty cool. I play a lot of banjo and ukulele. But yeah, there we go. I have some other videos that I'll be posting soon of me playing songs, so hope you enjoy those.